What were the surprising revelations about Fred Couples? Fred, who is nicknamed Boom Boom, is a smooth-swinging golfer who has captivated golf fans for decades. This is a look at the controversial side of this 1992 Masters champion. This will be full of controversies. Our team thoroughly scanned the pages of the Golf Digest, New York Post, and Bunkered UK to explore his outspoken opinions and personal struggles. Stick with us to the end to discover the truth surrounding the death of his first wife. What did he have to say about Phil Mickelson's transfer to LIV Golf? He is not a fan of the LIV Golf League and some of its players, and he was certainly not afraid to make his feelings known. He said, though, that he had no problem with LIV, but his problem lied with what the players who go to the LIV Tour had to say about the PGA Tour. Talking specifically of Phil Mickelson, he said he still liked Phil as a player and considered him one of the 10 best golf players who ever lived, despite Phil calling him a nutbag. However, what he found offensive was Phil's blasting the PGA Tour, something Fred has been a part of the last 43 years. He said his comments bothered the hell out of him. He was so bothered that he had to retaliate, saying that if LIV was willing to give Phil $200 million as a signing bonus at age 53 to shoot 74 and 75, he hoped that God would bless the league. He continued by taking aim at other high-profile LIV players who he considered clowns, like Sergio Garcia, who also had unsavory comments on the PGA Tour. Fred said that if Sergio continued to make comments on the tour he was playing in, Sergio should not expect him to keep quiet and not comment back. If his comments came out offensive, he is apologizing for them. He also had plenty to say about the player he referred to as the guy who won the Players' Championship and British Open in 2022, Cam Smith. He mocked his claim that his LIV transfer will now give him more time to spend with his family. He said that he's leaving the PGA was for him to be able to attend more weddings of family and friends. He said he found the comment comical, as his favorite golfer of all time had 5 kids and 40 grandkids and never missed any important family occasion, none other than Jack Nicklaus, and he was playing in the PGA. And just like he had no beef with LIV players, he did not have any qualms on their being allowed to play in any of the PGA majors, as long as they are qualified to play in the events. When Greg Norman, the LIV Golf CEO, made an appearance at the 2024 Masters, Fred made a thinly disguised dig at the Aussie. Seeing that Greg had to buy his own ticket to get into the tourney grounds, he asked why didn't any of the 13 LIV golfers playing in the event bother to get their CEO a ticket. He then turned to Greg and said if Greg needed a Masters ticket next year, all Greg needed to do was to let him know. As to the LIV PGA Showdown held last December 2024, where PGA stars Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler played against LIV standouts Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, he said he found the exhibition weird. He couldn't understand why these golfers played a big match under such challenging conditions, where temperatures reached the lower 50s, making the players lose some pop off their drives. Fred has been a vocal critic of LIV Golf and its players. His criticism focuses mainly on the claims by these players that their joining LIV was for the purpose of growing the game. He argued that such statements lack authenticity, suggesting that financial incentives were their true motivator. What was the controversy he got into as the vice captain for the 2023 Ryder Cup U.S. team? Zach Johnson, the U.S. captain, expected his vice captains to keep their cards close to their chests. If he released a memo to that effect, Fred seemed to have misplaced his copy. Speaking on The Fred Couples Show on Sirius XFM PGA Tour Radio, Fred announced 3 players sitting just outside the top 6 automatic places on the team standings to be receiving wildcard picks. These were Max Homa, Cameron Young, and Jordan Spieth. Everyone took it to be a shock move from Fred to basically say the 3 made it already. Still, most took the comment at face value, including Cameron. After Zach completed his lineup for the 2023 Ryder Cup, the exclusion of Cameron Young put Fred on the spotlight after he already announced his inclusion on his radio show a month earlier. The fact that Cameron finished ahead of Colin Morikawa, Sam Burns, Ricky Fowler, and Justin Thomas in the race for automatic qualification, his exclusion was more galling given the fact that the 4 were chosen ahead of him. When Zach was specifically asked about Fred's comment in regards to Cameron's inclusion in his pick selection, he said his final decision to exclude Cameron kept him up at night knowing Cameron was nothing but class. A phenomenal player and better as a person. As to Fred's comment, he said it was said a while back and was kind of done in jest. All Fred could say after Zach announced his final choices was that this is the final team and the team had spoken, claiming that his U.S. team members were behind the captain's controversial picks. He argued that the players who are liked more by the qualifying team members were more likely to earn one of the 6 wildcards. If the team likes a particular guy a little bit better than another guy, then no one should have any problem about it. What was the truth behind the death of his first wife, Deborah? Deborah was the brassy blonde wife of Fred between 1981 and 1993, who took private helicopters to ritzy New York parties and was known for racing onto the greens to congratulate her husband after his victories. During the marriage, she had a sassy reputation for her ostentatious and boisterous ways. She was also known for being an outrageous flirt favoring tight-fitting and brightly colored shoes. The breaking point of the already rocky marriage in 1992 was her doing a striptease on an English bar table in front of Fred's PGA peers. During the divorce proceedings in 1992, she requested for temporary support in the amount of $160,000 monthly and was granted $52,000. This was dropped to $27,000 after Fred won an appeal. Following her contentious divorce from Fred being finalized in 1993, she quickly frittered away her monstrous divorce settlement of reportedly more than $7 million, broken down into a lump sum of $3 million in a Palm Beach mansion. Giddy from the settlement, she proceeded to live in the Trump Towers as well as 67th Street and Park, latching onto the ritzy New York social scene. To keep herself fit, she engaged in her expensive hobbies of tennis and polo, which ultimately drained the bulk of her money. There was a time she spent a yearly $300,000 just on her polo hobby alone. She partnered up with Ken Libman on a construction and interior design firm. However, after failing to drum up any business for the firm, Ken bought her out. While trying to find a life away from the golf tour, her divorce money was gradually drying up. She went from Gucci to Fava shoes, so to speak. Her fear of losing her looks and her money finally became a reality. She became physically frail and lived in a modest neighborhood in Newport Beach, a far cry from her days of hobnobbing with the likes of Ivana Trump and Susan Lucci. On May 26, 2001, Deborah climbed a ladder and jumped 70 feet off the roof of the Kresge Chapel on the campus of the Claremont School of Theology in Los Angeles. Fred did not comment on her death, while his then-current wife, Thais, said they were shocked by the news. Fred is not afraid to say his piece regardless if he gets caught with his foot on his mouth, but he also knows when it's time to keep quiet. For another story on a famous professional golf personality, simply proceed to the next video on cue.